In this video, you're going to be learning how to crush online poker in 2023. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Adam Carmichael. I'm a mindset and performance coach who works with professional poker players. Now, over the last year alone, I've worked with over 100 professional poker players in different countries, playing different stakes. So I'm in a good position to understand the current landscape of online poker in particular and how profitable it is going forward. Now, if you listen to a lot of people, almost like since the beginning of online poker has begun, most people will tell you unbeatable, don't bother, games are tough. Alright, so if you're not quite even thinking about getting into online poker yet, the biggest obstacle you have is that people tell you it's difficult. It can't be done. It's impossible. And I started poker in 2011, playing heads up sitting goers, and this was about 3 months after Black Friday. So after Full Tilt had closed down all the sites and took everyone's money, and rumors were spreading in those days that poker was done. It might have been a few months, maybe a year, and then you'll never make any money online poker. Games are too tough, no opportunities. Luckily, I didn't listen to that advice, and I ended up playing poker for 6 years, and in 2023, these same conversations are still ongoing. So the first thing I need to do, before we go any further in this video, the first thing I need to do is dispel one belief, alright? And the belief is that you can't do it. That you can't make good money playing online poker, alright? There are hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of players around the world making very good money playing online poker, playing it for their main profession and doing very, very well with the games. Alright, so if you think that it can't be done, if you think it's too hard, you're not even gonna try. You've almost like crossed yourself off the opportunity list before it's begun. Alright, so first thing you need to do, dispel that belief. Alright, let's say you've done that, let's say you understand, okay, yes it's tough, yes it's gonna be difficult, yes online poker is not an easy thing to do, but it's possible. There's thousands of players doing it, so why can't I? If you're in that position, awesome. We can now move forward with the next 2 important things you need to do. Now the first choice you need to make is choosing what to play. Alright, are you going to play PLO? Are you going to play No Limit Hold'em? Within those games, are you going to play cash games? Are you going to play entities? Are you going to play sitting goers? Endless opportunities. Alright, and myself starting out, I was quite naive to how many opportunities were in poker. I was just looking at a website called Shark Scope at the time, and I could see the profitability of heads up sitting goers at that moment in time, and I dabbled in heads up sitting goers, and I enjoyed the format. As far as I was aware that these were the best format to play, and I just went full speed ahead. Knowing what I know now, and I spent a lot more time doing my research, I realized, well, wait a second, what games are available and which ones have the most profitability and the most long-term potential. Alright, so when choosing the format, there's 3 criteria which I think are the most important when picking what to play. The first one is enjoyment. Do you enjoy the format you're playing? If it's MTTs, do you enjoy that format, that long tournament structure? Do you enjoy cash games because you can leave the games quickly? Do you enjoy sitting goal structure because it's quick and you can play on demand? Do you enjoy a PLO format over a No Limit Hold'em format? It's really important because you want to think of the format you can play for 5+ years through enjoyment. If you're trying to make a format work because you think it's profitable, but there's not that initial enjoyment, you're done. You're going to struggle, you're not going to progress in the way you could. So first of all, enjoyment. Pick the format that you find the most enjoyment playing, alright? Second thing, your bankroll. Alright, now if you don't have a big bankroll starting out, it limits you to what formats you can play. For example, playing MTTs on a low bankroll is very challenging. Alright, the variance of multi-table tournaments is huge. So you're going to need at least 100+ buy-ins if you're playing the big fields, a lot more, and yeah, you're going to experience a lot of variance. So thinking about your bankroll, if you've got a small bankroll, you want to play games which have less variance, alright, which is a cash game format, a sit and go format, and avoiding the high variance. Alright, so the highest variance probably MTTs, and then PLO, they're the higher variance options, so you need a bigger bankroll. If you're playing those, if you've got a job on the side, awesome, you can supplement your income with your job, but yeah, you need a larger bankroll to play high variance formats. And then the final thing is, how long do you plan to be playing these games? Alright, if you're looking at poker over a 2 to 3 year landscape, it's very different to thinking 5-10 years. Alright, so let's say you were going to invest time and energy into becoming very good at a game, and you wanted that skill set to be useful in the future, in 5-10 years time. You'll probably want to gravitate to something like MTTs or cash games, because I'm very, very confident in 10 years time, there'll still be casinos where you can play cash games and MTTs, and there'll still be soft online pools for probably both those games as well. Alright, so you might want to think about, if you're thinking long term, which formats to go for. The next decision you need to make is choosing where to play. Now, depending on which country you're in, you have different options. You need to do your own research to find out which sites are available in Europe, in Asia, in America. The good news is there's lots of sites and lots of options available almost everywhere in the world. There might be some exceptions. If you're watching this, you might be in a place which doesn't have many options, but total players around the world right now, there's lots of opportunities becoming available. Even in America, which was closed up for a while, there's lots of pools that are emerging. ACR, Ignition, Global, all sites that are offering games in different states. Alright, so you've got to understand what games are available, so that requires your own research to do that. But then you want to know your goals. Alright, your goals dictate which site you play on. Alright, so if you want to make as much money as possible, you want to pick the softest sites with the lowest rake. Alright, no brainer there, kind of obvious stuff. But at the same time, if you want to get very good at poker and you see yourself wanting to play high stakes poker in the next 2 to 5 years, you'll probably want to align yourself with more challenging games, which have tough competition and big player pools. Alright, so for example, if you're in Europe, you often have the choice. You can go the soft sites, or you can go the tough sites. Tough sites will generally be PokerStars, GG, maybe Party Poker goes in that category, but the sites with the biggest player pools. They're the toughest, they generally have higher rake, and you have rake back deals. But yeah, basically, if you want to be very, very good at poker and play high stakes, if you're just using soft lineups all the time, your game is going to struggle to progress against challenging opponents. Alright, so based on your goals, if you want to make as much money as possible, go for apps, go for soft player pools. Maybe you haven't got much options available, but if you have, choose between those. And if you want to get very good at poker, you want to play some of your volume at least against tougher lineups. So next thing to consider would be the rake and the games you're playing versus the rake back deals you can get. Alright, ideally you have low rake and high rake back. That would be the ultimate dream, but most likely there's a combination in between. So for example, websites like GG, which is very popular at the moment, has very high rake structure. Alright, they require you to play a lot of volume to get good rake back deals often, and you just need to be aware going into those games that the rake's high and it requires rake back. Alright, so then you've got other games that might have lower rake and lower rake back. Alright, so playing around with the variables, find that sweet spot for yourself. This then goes into the next one, understand how much volume you're going to be playing. So for example, if I'm a high volume player and I'm playing on a site with high rake, but I get high rake back because I hit a certain volume. Alright, let's say if I hit a certain amount of hands over the course of the month, they will give me 50% rake back. That could be a good option if I'm a high volume player because I'm able to hit that criteria. So judging your kind of the rake back based on your volume is going to be very important as well. Alright, then finally, are you thinking short term or are you thinking long term? Alright, like I said before, this ties into your objectives of playing. If your goal is to make as much money as possible, playing soft games as often as possible is the goal. But if you want to progress, and let's say you're watching this video and you want to be playing 1K&L in the future, at some point you're going to put yourself in tough lineups that are going to challenge you and be competitive. So you want to probably steer some of your volume, if not a lot of your volume, towards the big player pools and the tougher games. Your win rate will be lower, you'll probably make less money in the first 1 to 2 years, but you're thinking long term, so that's a good fit. Alright, so those are kind of the prerequisites before we get started, and now I want to share with you 5 approaches you can use that will help you to crush online poker in 2023. Alright, the first is learning how to learn effectively. Alright, and I call this filtering out the noise. So in terms of getting better at poker, so many avenues, so many ways, and you've got to be good at using the tools that are relevant to you. Alright, so example, solvers are very popular to learn theory. A solver will basically simulate the game dynamics of a perfect game and show you a strategy of how to play this game in theory, play a spot in theory perfectly. Now, this is great for understanding a theoretical model, but if you're playing soft player pools, the kind of use cases of this kind of model are quite low, in all honesty. Alright, so you've got the kind of theory-based learning, which is the solver guys. You've got the exploitation-based, which is often people using the intuition and feel. And then you have kind of the using data. Alright, players can use their own data, use player pool data to kind of come up with exploit strategies. Now, all of these link into each other. And if you want to get really good at poker, you actually need to get good at all of them. Alright, the better you understand theory, the better you can exploit when people aren't sticking to that theory model. And then when the better you understand your own data and the data pool, the kind of player tendencies of your pool, the better you can use exploitations to exploit them when they're deviating strategies. I don't want to go too deep in this because there's a million things to go into, but basically understand how to learn for the formats you're playing. For example, if you're playing a very soft pool, you want to get very good at exploitation. Alright, and not too much on theory. Maybe a little bit of theory to fill in the gaps. If you're playing a very challenging pool, or you want to be playing high stakes in the future, theory is a non-negotiable. So you need to get good at solvers. Alright, if your goal is to play high stakes of any sort on any site in the next few years, theory knowledge will be crucial. All right, so you need to learn how to use solvers effectively to increase your win rates and how to apply that knowledge. All right, how do I use solvers and then apply that to my player pool? All right, next one, probably the most important of the whole video, is consistency. You need to learn to show up over and over again. All right, if you see anyone having success in any field, it's almost always because they've learned to be consistent in that area. Now with poker, it's kind of grind consistently. We're talking 2 to 5 hours, 4 to 6 days a week is a rough kind of target area. Obviously more could be better, less could be okay as well. And then studying, most days, can you find an hour of deep studying a day, all right? And if you're a professional poker player and you want to crush the games, that's kind of what you need to at least be aiming for. All right, you need to consistently find a way to show up over and over again. All right, this is get schedules, get routines, and find a way to show up consistently. Now, this last year, side kind of topic, but I've been trying to get stronger in the gym, and I've been training consistently, lo and behold, and I've started at the point where I'm getting relatively strong at the deadlift and the squat, to the point where people in the gym are starting to go, hey, you're strong at this, how did you get strong? And it's really interesting because people are always looking for the magic bullet, the secret. How do you get strong? What they're really asking is, how do I get as strong as you with doing little work and get the outcome that you've got? All right, so they're thinking I'm going to tell them I've got this crazy program I'm doing, or I've got this awesome new exercise that you haven't heard of. But then I tell them I've been training consistently for the last few years. It's actually more like the last 5 or 6 years. I bench press 4 times a week, I squat 3 times a week, and I deadlift twice a week. And that's pretty much most of my training. If everybody go, oh, all right, enjoy your workout. They don't want to hear that, all right? Because what I'm telling them is to get the outcome that you're looking for requires consistency, mundane, showing up over and over for a long period of time, all right? People just want the magic bullet. They want that secret to get to the finish line, all right? So you've got to find a way with poker. How do you show up consistently? If you watch any high stakes player or you follow them for a period of time, you realize, the reason they're crushing these games is not because they have a 1 week binge of poker, it's because they've been consistent for months, years, decades to get to where they are. The next thing you need to do is to find a community to learn from. All right, you need to find your tribe of players who are on the same journey as you and progressing towards similar goals. Poker is so hard to go alone because there's so much to learn. There's so many biases that you have when you're trying to learn a strategy that you need other players to bounce ideas off, to learn from, and to be around. Almost every high stakes player I've spoken with has a peer group of other players who are playing at least mid stakes, but often high stakes as well. All right, so you've got to find your community. You've got to find the guys you can study strategy with. You've got to find the guys who you can learn mindset from. Myself, I create a community called the Poker Athletes where I get players together who are trying to level up their mindset performance, and together we share a very intimate kind of community where we're working towards the same objectives, building a mindset relative to poker. All right, so if you haven't got a community at the moment, don't worry, there's loads of places you can find them, but you need to be searching, all right, you need to be on the lookout. Where are the people who are going the places I'm going? Who are the guys who are crushing the games I'm already playing? How do I get in touch with the right people? It takes time, all right? I've got some guys in my community who, when I started working with them, they didn't have a community at all, and they were very mindful that it was a negative thing. But over the course of years, of just constantly showing up, constantly engaging, constantly reaching out to people, they finally found their tribe of people who they can learn from, all right? It doesn't need to be many. Myself, I live with 2 other poker players throughout my career. We bounced strategy together, we had lunch together almost every day and talk strategy. And sometimes all you need is 2 or 3 players on the same journey. You don't need like 100 players, you just need a few, a core group of players who are moving in the right direction. All right, so that's something to work on. It's an ongoing thing to find your community of players. All right, the 4th thing to work on is to treat poker like an athlete. All right, when I say this, I don't just mean you go to the gym and you're getting a good body. I mean you're treating it seriously from a lifestyle perspective. All right, an athlete optimizes all areas of his life so that he can perform well during game day, match day, race day. All right, when it's time to perform, he's ready. And the reason is he takes care of everything around performance. All right, this is going to bed at the right time, you're optimizing your sleep. This is the foods you put in your body, how it implements your energy. It's movement, exercise throughout the day so you're feeling good. It's create a schedule so that you're able to get the most out of your days and to study and grind effectively. It's also about learning to focus at a high level. It's about optimizing your energy. It's about building resilience. It's all these things that go into being a poker player that you need to get good at. All right, so if you treat poker like an athlete, what you do is you take the skills that are needed and you start training them. Alright, I've got a whole program I do on this, which I'll not really talk about this video, but basically how do you treat poker like an athlete? How do you optimize your lifestyle so you can perform at a high level? Alright, and the fifth and final one is you need to build a strong mindset. Alright, now poker is very challenging, and almost every player will go through periods where they're losing and they just can't win, no matter what they do. Alright, so there's three things that every player needs to deal with, and that's downswings. Alright, you're gonna go to downswings sometimes. Second is mistakes. You make mistakes and how to deal with the self-doubt that creates, and then uncertainty. The uncertainty and risk. When am I going to win again? How long is this downswing going to last? Is that the right decision I'm making right now? And these things cause a lot of issues. Right? They cause a lot of issues at tables, and you need to build tools, mental tools, to deal with them. The bad news is, almost nobody is born with the skills, the mental skills I'm talking about, to be good at poker. Alright, it's very counterintuitive for the brain to be able to deal with all the things that go on. For example, let's say you have a job, a 9-to-5 job, and you work really hard for a month. And imagine at the end of the month, your boss says, sorry, the company's experienced some bad variance. So instead of the 3K we were supposed to give you, we're actually going to take 3K from your salary. So you now owe the company 3K. Alright, so thanks for your work this month. I hope to see you next month. Get on your way. You go, what? Like, that's not fair. I've worked hard this month. The fact the company's lost money this month, not my fault. I showed up and did my work. Alright, so we get this we normally get a reward for the efforts we put in. But in poker, variance just goes, forget about all that. You can work hard for days, weeks, months, even a year, and poker can continue to give you bad results. So this creates a lot of inner turmoil, a lot of emotions come up, or frustrations, often anger comes up. You find it demotivating, you find it self-doubt kicks in as well, because you're like, is it my fault that I'm losing, or is it something else? Alright, so that's just one example of how poker is challenging. Another one for making mistakes, super common. Players start to deviate strategy because they're making mistakes, and they'll either think they're doing things wrong, or they'll beat themselves up really hard. They'll judge themselves, they'll critique themselves, they'll be all in their heads going, oh, why did I make that mistake? And again, you need to let those go and find ways to build a toolkit to get past those. Alright, so 3 of the skills, I teach my poker athletes 8 skills, but these are 3 that help with building a strong mindset. First, emotional regulation. Can you regulate your emotional responses to poker? You'll find as you play in your early years that you have a lot of emotional reactions, which means you haven't calibrated your emotional reaction to your environment. Let's say you have a bad beat, let's say you have a losing session, you feel angry, you feel frustrated, you walk away from the tables, you take that out into your personal life, and you carry that frustration around. That means because you haven't learned to calibrate your emotions, alright? You haven't regulated your emotional response. Another one, resilience. Players need to be resilient because things don't go your way, you lose a lot, you make mistakes, and resilience is the ability to return back to your physical and emotional baseline as quick as possible, alright? So if I'm resilient, I could have a bad session or a bad week, but I will still come back to my baseline and show up and grind the following day, alright? And the quicker you can do that, the better, alright? So resilient people are able to push through adversity, keep going when things get tough, which is very, very key for poker. And then next one is perspective, which is a bit more of a friendly skill, but it's really, really important to train your mind to zoom out from situations and to realize, all of this is normal. All of this happens to every poker player. It's just a bad beat. Oh, it's just a losing session. Because very often what we do as poker players is we zoom in on the small. So it's like having a graph that's going up, and then we zoom in on one little pivot and we go, life's so bad. Why am I losing? Alright, so perspective skills is the ability to put your results into context, to continually remind yourself, this is normal, nothing to freak out about, everything's okay, life's good, alright? And again, being around other poker players is super, super helpful for this. If you're in a community of other players, you'll be able to bounce ideas off. Like I said, I've got a poker athlete community where we just work on mindset performance, and for those players, they're like, wow, I'm not alone. It's not just me who loses, it's not just me who has self-doubt. Other players have this as well. This is normal. It allows them to see a much more healthy perspective. Alright, so I'll give you guys 1 belief to distill, 2 choices to make, and 5 approaches you can use to optimize your results in online poker in 2023. Regardless of where you're on your journey, you can use these approaches and they will be very good. And yeah, I think for yourself, if you're new to poker or you're just getting into it or you're in the first few years, it's an exciting place to be. It's also very scary. There's a lot of unknowns. You've got to navigate that in the best way. But hopefully this gives you some useful things to work on and you can start crushing poker going forward. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video to the end. If you did like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and also subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Alright guys, plenty more coming from me very soon.